Looks promising. Alrighty, hey everybody, Blood Moon Bobby here. I'm sorry it's been taking me a long time to get to my WWDC videos, but life gets in the way. But as of right now, I'm really glad to be here, and I'm going to go through the, at least what I consider, the highlights of iOS 13. And so I'm not going to go over every single solitary new feature of iOS 13 because then I feel like I turn into like some sort of a dictionary or encyclopedia. I'm going to go over the ones that I either found eye-catching or features that I could see myself using on something like my iPhone 7 perhaps. But I will say down the line I am thinking of getting something like the iPhone 10R, even though yes, iOS 13 will support the iPhone 7, and here's a full list of all the devices that iOS 13 will support. I do want to get something that's much closer to like the current iPhones, the ones that are nearly bezel-less and things like the notch, which even though, yeah, the notch is kind of annoying, I will say every time I do get to use one of the iPhone 10 models, I do get used to them over time. So I will say that's an upgrade I'm considering down the line. But anyway, let's go through the features, or at least some of the most eye-catching iOS 13 features that I found. So we'll start off with one, and that is dark mode. And that's actually it's funny. Dark mode, really as easy as turning the menus of the different iOS apps. Like Apple showed off things like notifications, notes, messages, maps, Apple Music, and calendar all in dark mode. And it's funny how one little feature like that, just turning the backgrounds of your apps black, can actually be something really neat. I'm really glad the dark mode is coming to iOS 13 after it came to macOS last year. I think it really helps me out at night, especially, makes it easier to see the screen. It's much easier on your eyes. You're not looking at those white backgrounds like you do in the Twitter app, which does have a dark mode, I'm aware, but darkens the screen to make it easier on your eyes at night. And also, the nice thing about a dark background is that it doesn't use as much battery power. I've heard some people say that, especially on the OLED iPhones like the iPhone 10 and 10s, because the backgrounds will be black, theoretically that means they could turn the pixels off. I don't know if that's like officially the case, but I know that's technically possible with OLED technology. Yeah, so yeah, definitely glad that dark mode is coming to iOS 13. I do have a feeling some people may say some of these features should have come to iOS earlier, and I'm definitely in that boat myself. But for me, what matters is it's official and it's coming. So definitely glad that dark mode is on the way. Apple is going to start their own single sign-on option. It's their sign in with Apple, kind of like what Facebook and Google has. You know how when you sometimes set up an account with a different website, they give you the option of signing in with Google and Facebook. I know Weebly does that. Well, now Apple is coming out with their own version, but they're putting their own twist on it, and I think theoretically speaking, it is kind of clever. The way sign in with Apple works is you either sign in using Face ID, which I hope that they also support Touch ID down the line too, because there's quite a few iOS devices that use Touch ID instead of Face ID. Or if they do require your email, you can have an option where you can use an email, but the way it works is the company will send the email to a private account that gets forwarded to your own email. So I definitely think that's really cool. I like the spin that Apple puts on it. Now, obviously, in terms of cybersecurity and things like that, I don't think it's technically possible to make things super bulletproof, that nothing bad will absolutely happen. But I will say I do like this creative spin that Apple puts on their own version of single sign-on. So there you go, sign in with Apple. I definitely thought that was a really cool feature. next year. And yes, I'm going to be looking at my iPad because there's quite a few features to go over. Memoji stickers. So basically what's happening is that you can now have your Memoji have sort of emoji style reactions. Like when I was watching the WWDC conference, they had, the guy who manages iOS, Craig Federighi, he showed his Memoji with like star eyes and heart eyes and with like a sensor, like him swearing. And I thought that was pretty cool. You can also put like makeup on your Memoji now, which that's easily the cringiest part of the WWDC conference. I mean, if you thought it was cool, that's fine, but it's just like, But anyway, okay, so you could put those on the emoji now, make them more customizable. Well, I'm really not sure myself if I would ever use Memoji. I remember the first time I saw Memoji, I kind of freaked out because of, they move super realistically. It kind of gets uncanny valley for my taste. I might try that out, like if I ever do get like an iPhone 10 or something down the line, but it may just be a thing where I'm just trying it out just for the sake of trying it out. I'm really curious to see what I would look like as an emoji. So next up, there are some new kind of cool photo editing features. There is a new high-key monochromatic filter for photos and new portrait lighting options so that you can adjust the lighting when you use the portrait lighting features on the newer iPhones. But another pretty cool feature that Apple's bringing to their photo apps is they're bringing a new interface when it comes to editing. It kind of looks more similar to what we've seen on the more recent iPhones. But also, they're also adding way more editing options for not just photos, but they're also bringing them to video. So like with video, you can now rotate a video and crop a video. And for both photos and videos, they're adding all these kind of editing tools. I have some of them listed here. Things like vignette, noise reduction, and sharpness. So that's really truly amazing, especially like if you guys do photography yourselves. Like I'm a person that really likes to do a lot of vignetting with not just like my portrait pictures, but also with a lot of like my sports photography and landscape shots. So yeah, I do like how they're adding these features to iOS 13. They kind of sound like something, they kind of remind me of the editing features from the Adobe Lightroom app. I'll be honest, I don't know if I'll be using them like a super ton, but on the other hand, they're definitely really nice to have. So definitely really glad that they're going to have these new photo editing features come to iOS 13. Couple things here, even though I don't really use HomeKit, they brought up a couple new features to HomeKit. Or at least with HomeKit devices that I wanted to talk about. So one of the ones they talked about was HomeKit Secure Video, where basically the idea is, like Craig Federighi said, as of right now, the way a lot of HomeKit security cameras work is the cameras will shoot video, but the video will get sent back to the cloud to be analyzed. Now, Federighi said the way HomeKit cameras can work now is instead of being sent to the cloud right away, they'll instead be analyzed on the device for things like detecting the difference between a leaf blowing in the wind and a person walking to your driveway. It'll be analyzed on your device and then it'll be encrypted and sent to the cloud. So I thought that was definitely pretty cool. And another HomeKit feature that I like what they talk about is the idea of HomeKit enabled routers. Basically, the way they work is the HomeKit enabled routers work in a way where if one of your wireless devices gets compromised, it won't affect like all your devices connected. So I definitely think that's pretty cool. I'm not really a HomeKit person myself when it comes to the whole Internet of Things and smart home stuff. I'm more into things like kind of controversial, admittedly, like this is my Amazon Echo Dot. I know some people are like, Amazon on Echo Dot, privacy issues. I mainly have my own Amazon Echo Dot, mainly just to test it out and to use it in everyday life. If you don't want to buy one for yourself, that's fine. But I don't know if I'd use these HomeKit features myself, but I thought they were definitely worth mentioning. Okay, so another feature that's coming is Siri Shortcuts. So Siri Shortcuts, I should say, is getting its own app now. When you go to this app, you'll have quick access to things like finding directions home, like starting a workout and adding an item to your Instacart. So I thought that was definitely worth mentioning. I'm not really much of a Siri shortcuts user since I usually just go to the app themselves, but I think that's pretty cool. Other features, there's going to be much more detailed maps in Apple's Map app. They also showed off Look Around, which is Apple's own version of Google Street View, where you can go in and, look around the city and basically 360 and look around the area rather than just seeing it on a map. I thought that was definitely pretty neat. Again, kind of sounds like a feature some might argue Apple should have had a while ago, but I think that's definitely pretty cool. I've actually noticed my sis uses Apple Maps quite a lot, and I would say they do a much better job than when Apple Maps came out, but for whatever reason, I can't find my workplace using Apple Maps. I think because, not to go off on a tangent, but on Google Maps, I can type the name of my workplace and find the address with Google Maps, but with Apple Maps, I have to actually punch in the address itself. So, I think Apple Maps still has a few kinks to work out with. So hopefully with this new update, things will get better. They talked about a couple new AirPods specific features that I kind of wish they would bring to all users with headphones. Like they're saying now with AirPods, you have the ability for Siri to read you your text messages, and of course you could respond back to them. There's also this new feature coming where if you're wearing AirPods, you could actually share the music you're listening to with another user. Both sound pretty cool, even though I'm very skeptical about AirPods. I'm fine with just the earbuds that I personally own. I feel like, I could get, decent quality earbuds for a lot less money. I kind of wish they brought these features more to just headphone users in general, not just AirPod users. But then again, I guess Apple really wants to, incentivize people to keep buying AirPods and things like that. I don't know if they said if this will work with like the more recent Beats headphones per se, but I hope it does, just so it's not exclusive to just Apple's current, it's not exclusive to just the Apple AirPods, And another thing that's coming is a low data mode, which they briefly talked about, which I really hope helps me out because I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it. I use TracFone with my iPhone because that's the carrier that my family wants me on, and they really don't offer you much data from the get-go. Like they basically make you buy 1 gigabyte of data like every single time. So if you want more, you have to constantly just keep paying them. So I think that low data mode will help people like me out more, especially because I really need to be like conservative with my data so that I could have some data for like my job and things like that. It's kind of hard to balance since I need data for my job, but I also like using data to watch YouTube videos and listen to Apple Music. But I hope that feature will help people like me out. There is a redesigned CarPlay dashboard where now they have this feature in CarPlay in iOS 13 or coming to iOS 13 where you can have a map on where you could have your map, and also it'll show your music and any other apps that you tend to use. I thought that was pretty cool and worth mentioning as well. And there are time sync lyrics with Apple Music. So if you're listening to a song, I know that Apple Music currently supports showing you a full page of the lyrics of the song you're listening to, but now the lyrics will move along in rhythm with the song. So that's basically the list of iOS 13 features that caught my eye. Again, I didn't want to go through every single feature because then I would be turning into like an iOS 13 encyclopedia, and I don't think I'll be using every single solitary one. The ones I mentioned are just the ones that I either would use myself or ones that it seemed really interesting to me. But I'm definitely going to get this update myself when it comes out this fall, and I'm pretty excited. So let me know your thoughts on what you're hearing about iOS 13 down below in the comments. Are you excited? Are there any other features you wish they announced? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby, and thank you guys for watching. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave a comment. Subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell to get notified when I release my latest videos. Follow me at Blood Moon Bobby on your favorite social media platforms to take part in polls, see my tech tips, and to hear about my video plans. Thanks for watching.